Okay. Good evening. Welcome everybody. So this is the 4th week, and I've realised there's 5 weeks in July, so I'll be here next Monday as well. So we've been talking about the Four Noble Truths. I'll do the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer, and then we'll move into talking about the 4th of the Four Noble Truths. So I'll just start with Refuge and Bodhicitta, just recapping that refuge is turning your mind towards something or someone that you feel might be of benefit to you, that they might have something to offer to help you become happier, better person. And bodhicitta is the wish to better yourself, to become enlightened in order that you can benefit other sentient beings. And you generate this wish by understanding your own suffering and realising that everybody else is suffering, and being able to sort of not able to bear the thought that everyone is suffering, so that you really sort of generate this strong wish in yourself to be free, so that you can actually then help others. And they call that bodhicitta, and it's the sort of most precious thought in Buddhism, is this bodhicitta mind. So these two things, and the way to develop the bodhicitta mind is to listen to the Dharma and listen to the advice and philosophy, and then that helps you along the path. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Recently, Geshe Doga, we called him Geshe-la, is kind of like saying sir or something. So his name is Geshe Doga. Geshe, you can't hear? So a Geshe is like a title. It's like a master's degree in Buddhist philosophy. So you have lamas, and then you have different sort of levels of lamas, and the Geshis are kind of up there. And so Geshe Doga has been teaching here since the 1980s. I think he's been teaching every Tuesday and every Wednesday night here for all those years. And there's some of the teachings are the difficult philosophy, or the more intense, complicated. It seems complicated, but it's not. It all comes back to these same ideas that we've been discussing for the last few weeks, and that you'll hear on Monday nights. It's basically that Geshe-la is talking about all the same. But it just came to me recently. But he can make it so simple. He'll just bring it back to some simple thoughts. And even though, teaching to older students, people that have been listening to him for a very long time, the other night he was saying, I get up in the morning and I think to benefit all beings and to do no harm. And to benefit all beings. I want to benefit all beings, he said. He said, I'm only one person. And for me to be happy, that's not good enough. I want to benefit all other beings. And then he went, it feels really good. It feels really good to think that thought. So, you know, it's that simple, that if you have these, this mind of wishing to benefit others is, and it's very hard for us because we're not instinctively, it's not that easy. But if we keep thinking these thoughts and you start the day that way, then it will affect the next thought and the next thought, and it will affect your actions and the way you speak and what you do. So the fourth noble truth is the truth of the path from suffering. So we have the four noble truths are the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of cessation, and the fourth one is the path to achieve that cessation. So first of all you have to acknowledge the suffering and then question, why am I suffering? Why is everyone else suffering? Why is there always trouble? And why, even if I'm happy, it doesn't last, or it's boring, or you know, it moves on. Why is happiness such a fleeting thing? And then I'm suffering again, and it's this endless. You get through one issue, and then something else left field happens, and it just seems to be endless. So we look at the causes, and again, it's likened to physical illness. When you have an illness, you go to the doctor, and the doctor diagnoses the problem, and then they will give you some advice or medicine, and to cure it. And a lot of things are curable, and the doctors do help us. So it's no good the doctor sort of saying, right, you've got this issue, I understand this issue, now you have to do this, this and this, and you have to take this medicine. And you walk away and you don't take the medicine, and you don't do what the doctor said. And then you go, well, why am I still sick? So that's what, it's mentally, it's the same kind of thing, that we've got these, what Buddhism refers to as deluded states of mind that are the cause of our suffering. And so the Buddha is like the doctor, diagnosing the problem and giving advice on what to do about the problem, and looking at the causes of the problem. So you have to find what the causes are, and we've talked about that the three delusions, the three poisons they call them, are attachment, aversion and ignorance. So it's our attachment, our exaggeration of the things that we want in life and that we think that we need. And that, of course, we need food, we need friends, and we need to be comfortable, of course, but we seem to want more and more and more, and we're never satisfied. And we do this thing where we over-exaggerate all of the things that we need, and that when we don't get them, we get very upset, and then that makes us angry. And then we do damage to others and to ourselves, and then those habits of mind continue. And the more we indulge them, the stronger they get. So that we have to do something to counteract these deluded states of mind that are our actual enemies. And Geshe-la has taught, and other, the teachers often say that, you might have physical enemies, you might be shot and tortured and killed and stuff, but your external enemies are nothing compared to your internal enemies. That it's our states of mind that are the cause of our happiness or our suffering, and it's our internal enemies are the ones that we really need to fight. And we spend a lot of time blaming external causes or people or situations for our unhappiness. But if we were able to have some awareness of our own mind in a situation and how that is actually causing us to suffer. For example, so if my sister drives really well, she's a very calm driver and a very patient driver, and so I've been in the car with her and we'll get stuck in traffic, and I'm thinking, why doesn't she just duck, get through the traffic, and which is a duck and weave kind of thing, which is kind of what I do. And so I'll be sitting there going, getting impatient, and she's calm as anything. So we're in exactly the same situation and we're both perceiving it differently. And one of our minds is upset and the other one isn't. So is it the traffic that is the cause of her peace of mind and my anger, or is it's something in me that's being impatient and saying, I need this thing to happen now and it's important, and I'm over stewing it in my mind. And this is what we do, we build up these things in our minds, and we either get really over attached to them or over angry at them. And the third poison is ignorance. So it's due to really a fundamental ignorance that we generate attachment and aversion. And it's just this. If we can develop some wisdom and understanding, we can apply antidotes to our negative states. Such as for attachment, you can, if there's something or someone or something that you want, or some situation you want to work out and it's really important to you, and you think you can't live without it, or I'll die if this thing doesn't work out. You look at the situation and you can look at the downside of it. Normally, when we're attached to something, we only see the good side. It's like, you meet a new person and you fall in love, and you can't see anything wrong with them, and they're just perfect. They're fabulous. They do everything right. You love everything about them. And when they get angry in traffic, you kind of ignore that. That's sort of irrelevant. They're so fantastic, and then they say something rude to someone in a restaurant, and you kind of ignore that and think, no, they're such a lovely, nice person. And then you sort of you spend more and more time with them, and then you start to sort of go the other way. You might start focusing on, yes, they got upset with that person in the restaurant, and that's not very good, and you start to then focus on the negative things about them and start to develop a different opinion about this same person, that these things were kind of always there. But depending on your frame of mind, you're painting a picture of this person, and neither of those things are particularly as bad as we think they are either. We build stories in our minds and paint that over the situation, and so it's this exaggeration that is causing the problem. And if we had more knowledge of our own workings of our own mind, we'd be less attached to these ideas, or less clinging to our own version of events, and able to sort of do things more calmly. And then there's the ultimate wisdom of understanding the nature of how things truly exist. Actually, I'll talk about the antidote to anger. So that's the antidote to attachment, is look at the downside of a situation and try and kind of talk yourself back from this overwhelming desire that is an uncomfortable feeling in itself. That, when you're freaking out, you've got to have something. It's not good. It's not a nice feeling. So you can sort of just talk yourself back. But then the antidote to anger, getting really upset and angry about things, is patience. It's non-anger. It's talking yourself then possibly, you know, if someone is being rude to you and you're getting upset, and yes, they are being rude, and you are in a bad situation with this person, then if you're able to kind of analyse possibly why they're talking the way they are, or what's driving this person. There are meditations where you can actually meditate on your enemy and you have to kind of focus on the enemy. And what starts to happen is you actually start to develop an understanding of this as another person with feelings, and they're being driven by their emotions just the way I'm being driven by my emotions, and they're out of control. And in a sense, when you've kind of understand these things, you can actually feel sorry for them, because you know more about the situation and what's going on in their mind than they do. And you then develop a sense of compassion for this person. And it's not like you're a doormat and you let them continue to be abusive or whatever, but you have some understanding of they're in a bad situation, and they're creating bad states of mind for themselves, this bad habit of being angry or nasty or whatever, and they're creating bad situations for themselves in the future. It can't end well, so you develop a sense of compassion, and which helps you to counteract the anger. It's still a bad situation. You still need to defend yourself or walk away or whatever. It doesn't change the situation, but it changes your perception of how to deal with it. It changes your emotional state in the situation, that you're not actually just reacting and getting angry back at them, which is helpful to your mind. Even though the bad situation might still be continuing, you're not getting upset. You're actually developing real patience. So the third poison is ignorance, and there's the ignorance of just ordinary ignorance of not understanding stuff, but the ultimate form of wisdom, which is the counteracting of ignorance. So wisdom and understanding counteract ignorance. So we're developing this sort of wisdom of understanding of our own emotions and trying to apply antidotes to them. But the ultimate form of wisdom is this understanding of how things actually really exist, and therefore as you develop an understanding of this, you start to have just less grasping hold of things, because you understand that you can't hold on to things. And we did the meditation on impermanence last week, where if you look at the nature of how things exist, even your own body, just the bones, the blood, the guts, the brains, the pus, the caca, whatever, you sort of dissect it. There's nothing there really that is so incredibly fabulous and so important about me, that makes me more special than other people, that I should sort of have the things that I want and not have the things that I don't want. And you just sort of, and you analyse your mental states of your momentary changing of your mind, your constant flow of thoughts from one moment to the next moment, and that you then start to just sort of loosen this grip that we have on ourselves. And possibly next week I'll talk more to that. And it's a different concept for people to think this way. But you can analyse everything. You can spend your day. And last week I talked about meditation, that it's good to do in the morning, and it's good to have a routine, and it really is, because that develops habits of your body is sort of ready to go and sit in the morning and meditate or whatever. But with our busy lives, it can be quite difficult to develop that routine. And you can meditate any time of the day. You can meditate all day. You can be thinking about these things while you're driving or at work or you know, constantly sort of analysing. So there's three different types of meditation. There's the breathing meditation, which is like a stabilising, that just stops the sort of chatter, slows down the scattering of your mind and brings a bit of focus inward. And then there's analytical meditation, which we'll do another one of those tonight, where you analyse your own mind, you analyse basically you sort of you look at impermanence was an analytical meditation. And the one I wanted to do tonight on appreciating the human rebirth. And that's the other thing, I'll talk about the other. I've jumped from one thing to another. I have these thoughts. So the other type of meditation is visualisation. So we have spent a lot of time analysing, and perhaps well, the visualisation is the light meditation, when we're visualising light and filling ourselves with light. That's a form of visualisation. And the other sorts of visualisations are there are meditations on these different images that you see about the place, which are representations of different states of mind, so that they say, you know, Buddhism would teach that it leaves imprints by meditating on these different images, and they're for different states of mind. This is the Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion, the white one over here with the four arms. And so if you were to do a visualisation of Chenrezig, you would analyse the image, you'd look at the image. You can't sort of visualise something that you haven't seen before. And you would look at a lot of the detail, and then you sort of close your eyes and try to visualise it. But you visualise them above your head and filling you with light. And there are steps, there's a process that you would go through with a meditation like that. And then this is Tara, green Tara, and white Tara. And is that Medicine Buddha over there on the end? Yeah. So green Tara is the mother of, they're called Tara, the mother of all Buddhas. But green Tara is the Buddha of compassionate action. So green Tara is, if you visualise, if you're in a difficult situation, you can visualise green Tara, and she can sort of just help your mind or help the situation. So there are meditations on her. And then white Tara is health and long life. So that white Tara is a good one for if you're not feeling well, or if someone else is sick, you could visualise white Tara filling that person with light, or filling yourself with light. But as I say, there are sort of steps in the process. I don't know, would people be interested in doing that maybe next week or something? Because, I don't want to, some would. If you're not, maybe you could talk to me later and say you don't want to, and because, it's not like we're trying to sell, I'm not promoting Buddhism as such. It's more like, you want to learn to be happy. So these are meditations that we do that are beneficial. So I thought I'd talk about that, because you come in here and you look at these things and you don't really, you're not going to know what you're looking at really. And then, of course, the meditation on the Buddha himself, and that's something that you can do without particularly doing anything except visualising the Buddha above your head, filling you with light. And then that's a circuit breaker. It's like the breathing meditation, you can sit and breathe and calm your mind down, and that stops the chatter, and somehow that brings relaxation. It brings relief. Our thoughts are exhausting. You know, it is exhausting. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about stuff, and you can't sleep, and you've exhausted yourself, and you're just lying in bed. But it's your mind, and you're exhausted by your crazy mind. So that's what meditation helps you to sort of relax your mind. And when your mind is relaxed, then you that's 90% of the job. Your body can be relaxed. You can be, you know, in a really comfortable and relaxed place. But if your mind's not relaxed, then, you know, you're not going to enjoy being in this, you know, at the beach on a nice day. If your mind's driving you crazy, you won't enjoy it. So, righto, I better talk about the fourth noble truth. And I've got a few notes on my phone. The fourth noble truth is like, it's the path. And they call it, there are different ways of describing it. It's the eightfold path. And the 8 divisions, or the 8 points in the eightfold path. I'll just read out the final noble truth is the Buddha's prescription for the end of suffering. This is a set of principles called the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is also called the Middle Way. It avoids both indulgence and severe asceticism, neither of which the Buddha had found helpful in his search for enlightenment. So he's not saying, you know, go out and starve yourself and give up everything. But he's also saying don't overindulge, don't sort of chase after everything and overinvest in things. And that's why they call it the middle way. And you have to look after yourself. And that's what the Buddha found. That was one of the big things, was that he was dying because of his extreme situation he'd put himself into by starving himself and doing these extreme practices. And then the woman, Anjata, I think her name was, came and gave him milk and rice, and it revived him, and he realised that cleared his mind. He was in so much physical distress and was dying, and that when he was actually given some food and revived a bit, the clarity of his mind came back a bit, and then he realised that you can't, that those practices weren't helpful, putting yourself in that situation. So you need to be comfortable to be able to meditate. So the 8 stages are not to be taken in order, but rather support and reinforce each other. So they are, the first one is right understanding. So this is understanding the Dharma, but it's not about just, you know, me saying accept it. It's about you analysing and testing it out for yourself, and understand, you know, if you come to an understanding and it's helpful, that's great. And if it's not helpful, as the Dalai Lama says, throw it out with the rubbish. If something's not helpful, don't worry about it. But so you're constantly analysing, but trying to have the right understanding. And you don't make up your own version of this either. And when these centres were set up, there's about 200 centres around the world like this that are part of this organisation, the FPMT. And it was started by the 2 lamas sitting here, and a lot of students, kind of hippies back in the 70s, that met them in Nepal and then said, we want to take this back to our countries. And they said, if you take this back to your countries, you do exactly as we say. You have to do it as we teach you, and we will give you guidelines on how to do this. Because if you do it wrong, it won't work. And people make up their own versions, and a lot of so you have to be careful. You have to be careful who you're hearing teachings from, or you know, what you're doing, and you analyse And if you find that it's helpful and it's making you happier and your life a bit better, then there's maybe something in it for you. So that's right understanding. Then you have right intention or right thought. So you cultivate right attitudes. So your thoughts guide your actions. Your thoughts guide your speech. So you have to be careful about your thoughts and your speech, or your thoughts. And then you have right speech. So speaking truthfully, avoiding slander, gossip and abusive speech. So whatever we say is going to have an impact out there and on ourselves. So they say to avoid all of these things and being truthful and avoiding gossip. So just when you're having conversations with people, being mindful of the conversation and just being careful about what you say. And abusive speech, swearing or being really mean to people or something, or belittling people. Right action is behaving peacefully and harmoniously, refraining from stealing, killing, and overindulgence in sensual pleasure. So they do have the 10 non-virtues. It's like the 10 Commandments, very much aligned with the sort of 10 Commandments. So that's kind of what that's talking about. Then you have right livelihood. So avoid making a living in ways that cause harm, such as exploiting people or killing animals or trading in intoxicants or weapons. So again, it's about being mindful about what you do. If you feel that it's harming others, then be careful. And if you can't avoid doing, like people have got to sort of make a living, then I suppose perhaps doing some of the purification practices that we did last week, which you can sort of find out about if you weren't here last week. But we could end up with doing another purification practice this evening. Right effort. Cultivating positive states of mind, freeing oneself from evil and unwholesome states and preventing them arising in the future. So again, being mindful and just freeing oneself from evil and unwholesome states. And so just watching your mind, sort of thinking, is this helpful or is it hurting? And is this good for me? Whatever I'm doing or thinking or saying, is this actually healthy for me? Is it going to help me feel better? Or is it actually sort of a negative thing to be doing, and then it's going to leave a negative feeling? Right mindfulness is developing an awareness of the body, sensations, feelings and states of mind. And I think right mindfulness is sort of the key. They say just this watching your own mind constantly. You can, and even just physically when you're in some pain or whatever, just being very aware of what you are doing and thinking. And it's really about mindfulness, that this watching. And there are meditations where you just watch the mind, and it can be quite powerful. And even just during the day, if you just stop and just sort of look inwards and just watch your mind, and if you're in an upset state, if you just bring your mind inwards and just watch, and then you think, well, where is the actual upsetness? What is causing me this upsetness? And just by watching it, sometimes it diffuses just by looking inward. Otherwise, we're driven by it. Our mind is constantly driving us. We're not in control of it, it's in control of us. And whatever our sort of crazy instincts are throwing us at, our mind is all over the shop with it. But if you stop and look inwards and take some take the time to sort of analyse what you're doing, then you just sort of slow down and then make better choices. And then the last one is right concentration, developing the mental focus necessary for this awareness. So the more you meditate, the stronger your mind becomes. You are able to focus better. You are able to watch your mind. You are able to watch your actions. And I've been moving house recently, and I've been minding a friend of mine's daughter was staying with me for a couple of days, 14-year-old, and the removalist truck broke down, and then they were sending another one who didn't arrive, and it was getting late, and it was very frustrating. But she said to me, "You're very calm, Claire," and I was taken aback because I didn't feel very calm, but I know that in times gone by, I would have been really, really upset, or, you know, freaking out and swearing and carrying on and getting really angry. But I just kind of dealt with it at the time. And it struck me that she actually said that to me, which was really quite nice. I thought, oh, maybe the meditation is working a bit. There's just another little note at the end. So sometimes you sort of find yourself, when you've started meditating, you'll find yourself, you are a little bit calmer. You are less inclined to do things that you might have previously, you know, or just react as quickly. Yeah, so the 8 stages can be grouped into wisdom, which is right understanding and intention or thought, ethical conduct, right speech, action and livelihood, and meditation, which is right effort, mindfulness and concentration. So you'll often hear that the morality, concentration and wisdom are the 3 stages of the path. So this 8-fold path is in what's the word, concertina down. It's part of this morality, concentration and wisdom, which are the 3 things that the whole path. You might do a meditation. So that's how you do it. And it does come back to, it always comes back to meditation. You learn all these things, and you have come here to learn to meditate. And I know there's a lot of talking, but it's good to get your head around why you would meditate. Why, you know, we know that we want to meditate. We're stressed or anxious or unhappy, and someone has said to us, "Oh, meditation might help." But it's really good to sort of analyse all of these things and look at your mind and wonder why these things are happening, and then you'll have more of an understanding of why you meditate and put more energy into it. So we'll do another analytical meditation of appreciating our human life. So, you know, if you think about it, it's only as a human being that you can do this. Animals can't do this. And also people that have never heard of meditation, or, you know, live in countries that don't have religious freedom. And but as a human being, because we are able to make ethical choices and we are able to think, it's only as a human being that we can do this. And so Buddhism, because it talks about countless lifetimes, would say that, you know, you could be reborn as anything, and that this is actually a very, just the mere fact of being born human is great good karma. It means we all did something right. It comes from morality. Apparently, you know, being born as a human comes from doing really good things. So somewhere we did some good things that have given us this human rebirth that we can use in a really positive way now. Alright, so we'll just sit in a relaxed position. You have the spine straight and be as comfortable. Make sure you're comfortable. And just bringing the mind inwards, and we'll focus on the breath for a moment. And just focus on the coming and the going of the breath. Just following it in and out. Counting the breaths helps with the focus. Just make sure you're relaxed. Relax the shoulders and the neck. Perhaps visualise a clear blue sky, looking up into the clear sky, and then bring that down into you, and just letting go of any thoughts, just letting them pass like clouds, and then focusing on the breath for a while. So this meditation is an antidote to negative states of being such as depression and hopelessness. It helps us recognise and rejoice in our good fortune and our extraordinary and unique potential to achieve true happiness and satisfaction. An understanding of this potential naturally fills us with joy and enthusiasm for life. Who wouldn't feel elated at the realisation that they hold the key to their own fulfilment? At the same time, recognising our good fortune helps us to see clearly that there are many who are infinitely less fortunate than we are. We feel true compassion for them and take an active concern in their plight. So we generate a positive altruistic motivation for doing the meditation and think, for example, may this meditation bring greater peace and happiness to myself and others and to the whole world. Now just contemplating that the nature of your mind is clear and pure and has the potential to become enlightened. The state of complete purity, goodness and perfection. This is true for yourself and all other beings. You can think, for example, the nature of every being's mind is clear like space, vast and unlimited. Our negative thoughts and emotions are not permanent, fixed parts of the mind, but are transient, like clouds that pass through the sky. And because they are based on ignorance and misconceptions, they can be cleared away and the mind can be developed to a state that is completely pure and positive. Alternatively, if you find it difficult to accept that the mind has the potential to become enlightened, you can think of the positive qualities that you have: intelligence, loving kindness, compassion, generosity, courage, etc. And remind yourself that these can be developed even further and that you can use your life to bring benefit and happiness to others. Feel joy about the potential that lies within you. Although all beings have the potential to transform their mind and become enlightened, Not all beings are in the most ideal situation in which they can recognise and develop this potential. Human beings are generally in the best situation. Non-human beings either have too much suffering or are incapable of developing their potential due to ignorance and other delusions. Imagine what it would be like as an animal, for example. Animals in the wild have no one to care for them, and when they experience hunger, thirst, heat, cold, sickness or injuries, and are in almost constant fear for their lives. Domestic animals are sometimes better off, but lack freedom and are often killed for meat, fur, or other products. And all animals, even the most intelligent, have extremely limited mental capacities and are unable to develop themselves intellectually or spiritually. Contemplate this to get a sense of how fortunate you are to have a human life. However, not all human beings have the right conditions to recognise and develop their potential. Imagine, for example, being a destitute beggar or living in a war zone. Most of your time and energy would be spent simply trying to keep yourself and your family alive. You would have little or no time to think of anything else, such as a spiritual practice. Imagine suffering from a severe mental disability or illness, which would make it difficult for you to understand the teachings on the mind's potential and how to develop it, or having a physical condition that caused you a great deal of pain, discomfort and inconvenience, and hindered your ability to learn and practice spiritual teachings. Some people do not have access to spiritual teachings that explain the mind's potential and how to develop it. Imagine spending your entire life in a small, remote village where no one has even heard about enlightenment, so there's no opportunity to learn how to attain it. Other people may be aware of their potential and sincerely wish to practice teachings on how to develop it, but are prevented from doing so by others. For example, people in some countries do not have the freedom of religion. Others face strong objections from their parents, spouse, or children. Imagine yourself in such a situation. Recognise how difficult it would be and appreciate the freedom that you have. Then there are many people who are physically and mentally healthy, are materially well off, and have the freedom and opportunity to learn spiritual teachings, but are simply not interested. Their interests lie elsewhere, accumulating wealth, property, possessions, acquiring worldly knowledge or skills, or in simply experiencing as much pleasure as they can. They never consider that all these things will be left behind when they die, like a dream that vanishes as soon as we wake up, and that only their mind will continue to the next life. Some people engage in harmful actions such as killing, stealing, being abusive or dishonest, not realising that these actions cause suffering to themselves and others and create further obstacles to discovering their true potential. Recognise how fortunate you are to be interested in enlightenment and using your life in meaningful, beneficial ways for yourself and others. Now bring the mind to positive qualities and advantages you have. You are a human being with an intelligent mind, a loving heart, and a body you can put to good use. There are people who care about you and support you, family, friends, a spiritual teacher. You have opportunities to pursue your creative, intellectual and social interests. You enjoy a good standard of living. At least you have enough to stay alive. And most of all, you have the potential and opportunity, because of all the other benefits, to investigate, understand and transform your mind. Even if your life does not afford as much freedom and comfort as you would like, and even if you have to live with some very difficult problems and challenges, no matter where you are and what conditions you live in, you can always work on your mind. Think how few people or creatures on earth share these freedoms and chances with you. When you have considered this deeply, you will realise how rare and precious a life like yours is. So really appreciate your good fortune. Once you have seen the disadvantages your life is free of and the advantages you enjoy, decide how best to use your precious opportunities. Think of all the possibilities open to you: work, travel, enjoyment, study. If you wish to offer service to others, there are countless opportunities to help those less fortunate than you. But the most meaningful and beneficial thing you can do, both yourself and others, for both yourself and others, is to develop yourself spiritually, overcoming negative aspects of your mind and increasing the positive, and actualizing your potential for enlightenment. Try to see the limitations of a lifestyle geared solely to materialistic gain. Think of the insignificance of fame, wealth, reputation, and sensual indulgence when compared to the goal of enlightenment. Why aspire only to temporal achievements when we are capable of so much more? See if you can feel a sense of joy and appreciation for the wonderful situation you have. Resolve to use your life wisely, doing your best to avoid harming others, and instead helping them as much as you can, and developing your love, compassion and wisdom, and other positive qualities that will enable you to actualize your highest potential. So finally, we'll dedicate the energy and inspiration you have gained from doing this meditation to the ultimate happiness of all beings. And just bring your mind back to the room. So it's just going on 5 to 8. I might open it up to questions if anyone's got anything. Okay. I kind of feel like that said it all. Said quite a lot, gave you a lot to think about. So we could do a short purification meditation, or knock off early. I'll just say on the 29th there's a one-day course with Geshe Doga on patience. So the way it goes, everyone's welcome. They're really good, the one-day courses. They're always lots of different people come in, not just the students. There's people, first-time people come to these courses. And the way it goes is Geshe will talk in the morning, and we start with the meditation in the morning and then a discussion, and then Geshe comes in at about 10:30, 10 o'clock or 10:30 or something. There's a timetable that you'll see, and he teaches till lunchtime. Then we have lunch, and then there's a kind of discussion after lunch about what Geshe-la has been talking about, and then Geshe Doga will come again in the afternoon and talk again later in the afternoon. So they're often lovely days, and so everyone's welcome to come to that. Cynthia has an announcement as well, but Cynthia, do you want to wait? We'll just do a short purification, and then you can have a chat. It's quite short, so that last one was quite a long thing. This is just a nice visualisation, and it's something that you can take with you, something you can do. It's nice to do purification at the end of the day, because then you can think about the day, anything negative that you said or did, you can sort of think, okay, you know, I'm not happy about that, I'm sorry it happened, and if you're sincere in your heart, you can purify that and let it go. But what we tend to do is hold on to, or no big deal, and move on, or get over it, sort of thing. And but that stays in our minds and in our hearts, that we did or said that thing. It does stay there, and then that can start to have an unhappy effect on us. So by owning it and saying, yes, that really wasn't very good, rather than getting down about it and going, oh, I'm horrible, I'm a terrible person, you just go, right, yeah, that wasn't good, and I'll really try not to sort of go there again, or feel that strongly, or react that badly again, and purify it, and it lightens up your mind. And over time you sort of find that you are engaging less in kind of negative stuff, and that lightens up your mind. You get happy. You know, this is the stuff that's making us unhappy. It's our own kind of negativities. So that's why these purifications are really terrific and good to do at the end of the day. You just sort of analyse, think of your day, and then work with it. And they also, you know, it's food. You can't learn patience by being in a happy, jolly situation all the time. You have to, you know, these things, everything that happens to us is fodder for our meditation. It's food for us to work with, and they call it thought transformation. So nothing that happens, it sort of doesn't matter. It gives you something to analyse. It gives you something to work with. It gives you something to think about, and that's how you purify your mind. So there's no need to sort of get down about things. You can, if you analyse them, then you realise that it's giving you something to work with. Okay, so we'll bring your mind back in again. So sitting in a relaxed position with your spine straight. And just focusing inward on the breath. There are both positive and negative aspects to our personality. Hold on, I'll move on from there, sorry. So we'll just think about the motivation of wishing to become more free from negative energy so that we can be more helpful and less harmful to others. Now imagine that when you inhale, all the positive energy in the universe enters your body in the form of pure, blissful, radiant white light. Visualise this light flowing to every part of your body, filling every cell and atom, and making you relaxed, light and blissful. So with every inhalation, breathing in this blissful, pure white light, which fills your whole body down to your toes, your fingertips, radiating out through the pores. Completely purifying. Then begin to breathe out dark smoke with every exhalation. Imagine that all your negative energy, past mistakes, distorted conceptions, and disturbing emotions leave your body with the breath in the form of dark smoke or fog. The smoke goes out into space where it disappears completely. So just imagine that the smoke becomes totally non-existent, just disappears with every exhalation. And still breathing in the white light, purifying. Breathing out this black smoke. And feel confident that you have freed yourself of every trace of faults and negativity. Breathing out the dark smoke of your problems and breathing in the white light of good energy. And just simply observe your thoughts without reacting or getting involved. You can also transform these distractions into dark smoke and breathe them out into oblivion. And so we'll conclude the meditation by dedicating your positive energy to all beings finding everlasting happiness and peace of mind. And just gently bring yourselves back to the room.